Hi everyone, Irene here. This is the second video on my channel, so welcome on my journey to YouTube. In today's video I want to talk about change, specifically my journey around it and how I came to accept it. I'm going to take you through two major changes in my life. And in honor of this year, 2025 ending, I decided to start this video just by saying, what a ride! For me, 2025 has been a year of growth, a year of self-acceptance, and just a year full of learning. I'm going to rewind a little bit back to my childhood. I promise, it's so it makes sense. As a kid, I hated changes. I absolutely hated them. Like, I can't stress it enough. And I hated negativity. I hated feeling bad. I was so careful to not feel bad that I wouldn't even run because I was scared I was gonna fall and scrape my knee. And you know what was one change that scared me as a child a lot? It was the idea of becoming a teenager. So I had my fair information about teenagers, and I knew that they're this little ball of anger, and suddenly you're not in control of your emotions, you hate everyone around you. I perceive teenagers as a concept that's very hard to grasp. So in order to avoid all of that negativity around the concept of being a teenager, smart me tried to carefully plan around the entire procedure. But nature catches up. You cannot escape. And while I didn't do any drugs and I wasn't the sort of rebellious teenager that I imagined, I was still a teenager that was going through some very dramatic moments of her life. I was so sad and so misunderstood, and now, I make fun of myself, but it's real, You're at a time when you're confused, nothing makes sense, you don't make sense, you don't understand yourself, you don't understand what you want a major change, but you're at that time of your life when you can't make any big change. You're stuck in school, you gotta finish high school, give exams, you're wondering if you're gonna pass to university, what you're gonna do with your future life. It's just so much stress in a time when you're going through such major changes in your personality. You don't understand, you're just exploding in your own brain. It was also a time when I felt incredibly lonely, and I just hid everything under the rug until I couldn't. I exploded. So I had a while when I would go, one day I'd be okay, and the second day I would just cry. I was just a mess. I couldn't tolerate myself. I was very angry at myself. My playlist consisted of sad songs. I even went through a metal phase. It was a very short phase because after all, I couldn't really handle it, but and all of that anger, all of that sadness, that loneliness I was feeling, that misunderstanding I was feeling at that time, had me labeling myself as a very hard person. The good thing is that I did outgrow that phase, just as naturally everyone does at some point. Slowly, you're not the same as you were, back then. Your hormones start aligning a little bit, then you start your first job, and everything is a bit better. But I was still struggling with all of that negativity I pressed myself under during my teenage years. I saw how it was influencing my job life, my relationships, my relationship with myself, to the point that I just couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't handle living in my head. I was so frustrated with myself, and I decided to start therapy. So when I started therapy, I was 20 years old. I think I was 19 to 20. I'm not sure exactly how old I was, but I remember that I did therapy for around 3 years. Therapy was like a fresh breath of air for me. It was really helpful in trying to understand myself, taking a step back to look at situations, to try to understand your way of thinking. And as a people pleaser, it helped me hear my own voice and own thoughts and be able, to sort out what I want compared to what everyone else wanted of me or what I thought everyone else wanted of me. I just lived so much in my head that sometimes I would confuse way I was perceiving things. I had a very low self-esteem. I'm still working on that. Like sometimes having low self-esteem throughout your entire life, with no particular reason. It was just all the things I was telling myself. I had people believing in me. I had people praising me for my achievements, both in school, in my family, in my friendship groups. But if you view yourself negatively, then nothing can help you. So through therapy, I started seeing myself through a different eye. And then I also started doing some self-research, a few good YouTube videos, some nice self-help books. And well, basically the change was unavoidable. Around 2024, towards the end of 2024, I was working at this job where I was constantly burned out, constantly tired. I had to find ways to cope with all of that. So I had discovered at the time the concept of beauty. I gotta sneeze. It was during that time that I remember how I was constantly tired. I had dark circles under my eyes. I had a very poor sleeping schedule, just a very poor internal state that I decided to cope through doing my hair. I remember rediscovering Victoria's Secret at the time, and I was dedicating 3 hours making a salon blowout for my hair, and I was doing my makeup and I started dressing more feminine. I discovered the concept of femininity, the concept of fake it till you make it, which is again something I was familiar with, but during that time it clicked differently. I was more open to receive this mindset. Slowly, as I was improving my appearance, faking a little bit of confidence, getting my back a little bit more straight, being more firm in my tone, being more confident in what I was saying, I started realizing that I was worth much more than I was crediting myself for. I started realizing that I did not deserve to be in that job where I felt like trash. So I quit, and then I was unemployed, and then I got sick because I had bottled up so much stress throughout that half year. That half year of toxic work got me sick. So I had a lot of time to think, a lot of time to go into a little existential crisis, starting to question my relationships, myself, my beliefs. And I remember as if through a snap, I woke up one day and I just felt incredibly happy. As in, I was grateful that I quit that job. I was grateful that I started treating myself better. I was grateful that I went to therapy and I had shifted, into more positive thinking. And I just felt this instant happiness during that day, and I wanted to keep it. I started seeing myself as this friend I never had that I was responsible to take care of. And this was always a concept that cringed me. I always found these nice aesthetic videos of taking care of yourself, doing like some beauty rituals and all of that stuff, and I was disgusted by them because they were just so perfect and they reminded me of the things I was not. But when I shifted my mindset and I started seeing myself for who I am and for what I'm worth, and I started filtering out which sort of content inspires me and which sort of content makes me hate myself, I started liking the concept of taking care of yourself, of loving yourself, and not through the, like being self-obsessed and being delusional, but even the concept of being delusional enough that you believe your dreams are gonna come true started appealing to me so much, and it made such a major difference, such a major change in my life that I got excited. And what surprised me even more is that not only did I start seeing self-care as something good for you, something, I mean, it's obviously good for you, but you know, when you're in a very bad situation, a very bad relationship with yourself, you don't really want to hear life is good, all flowers, you got it, yay. And like, I hated reading quotes. Now I like reading quotes. I even drew a quote. I gotta show it to you. I even drew my own quote on this little canvas right here because I realized that the things you tell yourself and the things you believe in shape the way your life goes. And that's where my opinion about change shifted as well. And I realized that all of the things that I perceived as bad, all of those changes did eventually lead to who I am today. Changes are constantly happening, and there's positive changes, and then there's also changes that leave you unemployed, or changes that leave you questioning, what am I gonna do now? Or plans getting ruined. If you face change like it's something good for you, and you're open and you search for opportunities constantly, then change is good. I'm still not a major fan of negative changes, don't misunderstand me, and I'm not this positive monk that is accepting like all of the good life vibes and I'm like, you know, surf through. As a matter of fact, I still overthink, I still get anxiety, I still spiral in my own thoughts, and I still cry when something happens, and I still get sick if something happens, but I just come back much quicker. I just can't explain it. It's such a nice and exciting concept, and I was just so excited to share it with you and hopefully share with you the ideas and the exact mindset steps that have led to me reaching this step in my life, because I was very confused. I was drowning in my head. I was exhausted. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching this video. Appreciate if you're still here and if you're watching this bit. You mean a lot to me. You're my dream. Okay, so bye bye.